Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of the Vroom Podcast, the very race-oriented open media show hosted by me, Wills Jones, and my co-host, Simon Martell. This intro was filmed after the first episode because we're organized like that, so let's get to the show.
What I wanted to start with was the Montreal Grand Prix is canceled due to COVID this year.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, but we also got the new announcement of the Miami City circuit coming in. They have a contract for the next 10 years.
Yep.
So I think it's pretty interesting. Have you seen the picture of the track yet?
No, I know it's a city limit track, but I haven't seen it yet. No, I think it's like along the water, right?
So here, yeah. That's the track. It's not along the water.
Okay.
So it's around.
Oh yeah, it's around the stadium. That's true.
Yeah,
I
the stadium.
remember that.
But it
That's
looks
genius.
like it's got some pretty good braking points and stuff there, eh? Like
A
that
long
looks like it'd be
straight.
a fun track to race at.
Yeah, and they're racing on the highway? That's
It looks
that's
like
really
it.
cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. They've signed for 10 years too, which is like, whew, hopefully it's a good track.
Yeah, I know.
Like
That's the thing. Like it's the 10-year commitment to potentially another Sochi is scaring me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? At least like you gotta be happy that it's like in America and stuff, and not like Uzbekistan again and stuff. Just oil money. I don't know. That's kind of
exactly.
exciting.
Yeah.
The more tracks we can have in North America, the merrier. Like I feel like the Canadian Grand Prix at this point has like heritage and stuff, which is pretty crazy and like really nice. And then the Circuit of Americas is a really nice one as well. Where is that?
Oh, Coda is
Texas?
a beautiful track. Yeah, it's in Texas,
Yeah,
just outside
exactly.
Houston, I'm pretty sure.
It's so enormous and stuff. So no, I think it's really cool. I'm excited to see. I think circuit, city circuits are kind of a hit or miss. Like Monaco is just iconic at this point, but I'm trying to think.
Monaco,
like,
it's a terrible race. The whole thing that makes Monaco
yeah.
cool is the fact that there are yachts and it's like truly a one car at a time qualifying session.
Yeah, and like
that's what makes Monaco fun.
Man, the city of Miami, or at least the people living next to the stadium, are probably going to be happy because that means their highway is going to get resurfaced every year.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
which is that's something. And then, but yeah, no, I'm excited to see what happens. At this point, I just feel like there's so many racetracks on the calendar. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those like, is it really like, do we need more races or do we need better tracks?
Yeah,
I feel like we have a ton of races and a lot of them are on mediocre to subpar tracks.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially with like COVID. We kind of saw them diverge to tracks that they hadn't raced in a while, and like that was really fun and interesting, right? Seeing those new tracks and like
I loved the COVID F1 season with the adding in like just crazy tracks.
Crazy awesome. European tracks that are like way outdated was fun.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, that's pretty interesting. And then 2022, which means that it's going to be with the new regulations and everything. I'm very excited to see that, man. Those new regulations are going to be something, huh?
I cannot wait for the new regulations. I want Mercedes to stop being the best car.
Man, of course. But you know what? Like I'm a Red Bull fan, and like right now it's looking like Red Bull kind of caught up, and like I feel like it's always the same thing, right? They're gonna change regulation, and so the winning team kind of gives up, and then you have a great season just because people finally catch up.
Yeah, the first season of new regulations where nobody knows what they're doing is the best.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the big thing too is they're trying to limit budgets, which I'm really like looking forward to that. Hopefully it can kind of help balance out the field, but man, who knows?
Reducing the budget, sorry. Bring back privateers. I want to see like the little guy racing in F1 again.
I don't know. I don't think it's feasible in the world we live in now, man. It's
probably
so much
not,
money, and you see like Haas is probably the smallest guy,
you still need $145 million to.
They're definitely like not achieving like results right now.
No, Haas definitely not.
But you can kind of tell that they gave up this season, which is kind of a shame. But Hopefully that means they
I don't
come
think
back
there's
next
any.
season.
I don't think there's any bigger way for an American team to give up than putting the Russian flag all over their livery.
Man, can we talk about that? How ridiculous is that, right? It's like, like, how to announce you're a sellout to the to the most people possible. Like, oof.
So it's like, I don't understand how they got away with like completely selling out to the Russians as an American team. Like, I don't know how they like in themselves thought that that was okay.
Yeah.
But then also, like, there are tons of new sporting regulations around why the Russian flag can't be used, and yet they're still out here using it all willy-nilly.
Yeah, with the doping, I think it's hard to get, like motorsports, like athletes into the doping regulations,
yeah.
like, except if they're on cocaine the whole time. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy because like. Initially, that first time I saw the livery, I think I saw like a fan edit. So it was like the Russian flag for Mazepin, but then Schumacher had the German flag, and it looked crazy. I was like, oh, that's really cool. But then I saw actually it was just like Russian for both cars. But I was like, man, could you imagine how cool that would have been if it was like, like that was how they identified like their nation or whatever. That would have looked really cool.
I wish F1 could do split liveries, because it was like there was a team in the 90s was going to have their team was going to be two different liveried cars. I think it was a cigarette company wanted to advertise their,
classic.
we'll burn your lungs cigarettes, and then we'll burn your lungs a little bit less cigarettes. So that's how they wanted to do it. But they didn't let them because the teams all have to look the same. But I think especially for that, if you're going to do flags, like a two livery team would be so sick.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. But just talking about livery, I don't know. What do you think about Aston Martin? I think they fucked up. I don't think it looks good at all.
I think it would have been way better if they didn't have to use the BWT pink.
Of course, yeah. That's definitely what it is.
Like I was all ready to be all in on Aston Martin this year, and like I somewhat am. They're heavy in my fantasy picks, but I don't know. I don't think the car looks that good with the little pink strip.
And I feel like
then you can in places on it too, like there's the pink strip, and then around the halo, the highlight band they use is the Aston Martin yellow. So like there's also not a lot of consistency on that car.
Yeah, and like the green is kind of an off color to my eye. I find like it's not a good looking racing green. It's like it's kind of too dark. I think a little bit brighter would have looked really cool.
Yeah.
What we got, like especially on Sunday when I was watching the race, it was like Vettel racing against Bottas or whatever, and they looked like
it was hard to tell those
cars far back. They looked like the same car. It was like really annoying.
It is a very dark green. It's hard, and even like I don't know if you've noticed it, but on the timing board on the side, like I'm double taking at which logo is a Mercedes and which one is the Aston Martin, just because they have like the same like brand color behind it is like the like kind of like Petronas greenish blue, and then they have the Aston Martin green there. I just don't think it looks good.
Man, I'm pretty happy though. Aston Martin's a great branding deal. Like Stroll is just like a mastermind, bro.
And
like,
can we talk about Stroll
move.
P10 in the driver championship so far? I know we're only 2 races in, but he's out driving Seb every chance he gets.
It's absurd, man. Seb looks so washed out. Seb looks done. Like he looks horrible.
My question to you is Seb becoming an overrated driver? Like he hasn't actually finished a race yet this season. Like, do you think Seb is getting overrated?
I don't think you can call anybody overrated when they won 5 championships. Like
is it 5 or 4? I thought he had 4.
I think it might be 4. I thought it was 5. And then Schumacher had 7. And now Hamilton is at like 7 as well. But 4. It might be 4 with Red Bull the whole time. And then we got to remember that like he almost won that year against Hamilton too in a Ferrari, like 2017 or 2016. And then recently he's really not performed. But I don't think you can say he's overrated.
I mean, Germany 2018, 19?
Yeah, 2018.
It's all been downhill since there.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely that. But you know what? Like the teams, and that's what's always coming out when people talk about Sebastian Vettel. He has so much experience now that like they say he like comes into the garage and he knows what he's talking about. He knows what needs to be fixed, and like he really helps the team kind of direct their efforts. Is that maybe he's overbearing because like that absolutely didn't help Ferrari, but I think that's something that is good for a team that's trying to rebrand, kind of rebuild themselves, like Aston Martin. Just that experience is it's like, you know, it doesn't have a price, or for like you keep him on for 2 years, find a replacement when he retires on his own or whatever. Maybe he'll be back like Alonso. You know, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, but then to your point, like Alonso comes into a team and he bosses everybody around, and he becomes like, you know, pseudo team principal and makes all the rules, and it, you know, he burns out teams, and he's been in and out of F1 for how long and has 2 world championships to his name.
Yeah, and like, man, and right now too, he's getting outdriven by Ocon, bro, like a couple times too.
Badly,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, my dad's an Alpine guy, and he'll watch and be like, what is Alonso? Like, Alonso should be in the points every race, I think, fighting for top 5 ideally. But
yeah,
has he finished in the points yet this year?
I don't think so, no. Him and Vettel both, man. The two senile at this point.
The 2 old men just driving around.
But okay, let's talk about this weekend then. I think we could kind of start with free practice and kind of move along. I wrote a couple of pointers of what I thought. Man, free practice, Tsunoda crashed, right? I don't know if you remember that. Kind of red flag the free practice. Had a lot of difficulty this weekend, Tsunoda. It didn't really go his way.
Yeah, it wasn't the awe-inspiring first weekend that we all hoped he would continue on having.
Yeah,
I know for sure. I was hoping to see Yuki like fight for points again and really like push hard. Unfortunately.
But that's the thing too, is that he was fighting, right? Let's remember, during the race he was fighting, then slipped out and then dropped the points, and then he went back up again, and then felt so you and I are both on the fantasy league, which is pretty interesting. Have a team. I got on board with the Tsunoda, you know, party and stuff. He made up 10 spots, right? Throughout the race.
He's a very good driver.
That's half the grid. That's like very impressive. He didn't have the results really to show, but still half the grid is like, he definitely, like, he's not uncomfortable in the car. He's performing, and I'm happy because like I'm a big Gasly fan, so I'm happy Gasly's not getting outperformed yet by his rookie teammate. But pretty crazy with Tsunoda on his second day, and I think, as we can kind of talk about, but the difference between him and his 2 other rookies is just night and day, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I think if you followed Mick Schumacher's career, his first season in a new car is always terrible. Like he spends the first season figuring out the car, learning it, really, like, it seems like really slow progression for his first season, and it's like beating his head against a wall. And then season 2 and 3, he can win championships in that car from what he's shown. I don't think a Haas is a championship winning car, but it definitely, like, I think look for him in his 2nd to 3rd season is when he's really going to show off. And I don't think Mazepin should be in Formula 1. So there's my opinion.
Mazepin, you mean?
Yes, the Mazepin.
I think if you get a counter of Mazepin, just if you kept it going, I think this weekend he spun 3 or 4 times. He spun during free practice, he spun during quali, and then he spun during the race.
And
he's definitely struggling out there.
In one of the practices too, he spun, broke the car. I think FP1 he spun and broke the car, and then FP2 Haas didn't repair it properly, and he was driving around with a broken car.
Man, yeah. I mean, I think Mazepin's dad's money is the only thing that makes it so that Haas is still a team. So, like, that's kind of the sad truth of it. But
unfortunately, they need him, and
and he's
his money with that team.
You're right that he's definitely not showing any
F1
like
quality.
He got lapped by his teammate. He got lapped by another Haas. Yeah, so he's definitely not performing. Let's talk another thing about free practice. I don't know if you saw it on the social media, but Verstappen at one point had a problem with his car, and it had to be towed back to the garage, and it got lifted and dropped on the flatbed, and the flatbed went outside of the circuit through the city to then go back into the garages. And it's hilarious because you see people, there's a video of it, and it's just people like filming, taking pictures of the entire underside, which is still kind of secret. And like,
Yeah,
I'm sure they sent that to Hamilton and stuff. They didn't cover the car. The marshals just put it there and then just drove it around the city slowly. You can see people take pictures the whole time. It was
so
like, oh
bad.
boy. I don't know if they're pissed or at this point they can't really do anything. But yeah, it was bad.
I don't know, man. If I'm Christian Horner, I'm putting out a cease and desist for all of those pictures, and I want them all back. I'm going to the route that truck took, and I'm sending letters to every house, being like, please give me those pictures back.
Man, but that circuit, Imola, is a really scenic circuit, at least for just where it is, right in the city. Like, it's pretty impressive how nestled in the city it is.
Oh yeah, and I would love to live in any of those apartments. I think Imola is a great circuit. I love Imola.
There's like no really places to pass except after the straight.
This is true. Actually, I was going to talk to you about this. This is Lewis Hamilton couldn't make a pass anywhere other than going into what corner was it? Tamburello, the first corner.
Yeah.
You watched,
right?
The only place he
when he was attacking Norris, right?
Coming out of DRS into that braking zone was the only place Lewis could pass.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like trying moves at other corners and getting it done. Lewis only ever passes after a DRS straight. It feels like to me.
Man, let's move to quali, right? So first thing I gotta say, man, Lando Norris, what a performance from him. I'm so happy to see him perform. Some young blood. The McLarens are looking good this year, which is really impressive.
The McLarens are looking good.
Really happy, because if you think about the challengers are probably Red Bull and Hamilton for the champion, not Hamilton, but Mercedes for the championship. But if you look at the fight for the third place, Ferrari is has surprising pace this weekend, and then McLaren really performed. I'm not sure. And I think that's kind of the top. And then Renault didn't do too bad, but I don't know. I guess it's Alpine now. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think about Alpine? They haven't really done anything so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like I honestly think Alonso needs to get just a little bit more comfortable in that car, and I think he'll start doing some pretty special things. I think there are a lot of problems that Renault had that they tried to change when they changed the name to Alpine. They tried to hide those problems, and like I don't know. I think there's still some flaws in that team. Like if you look at the way the management structure goes, it's a very confusing management structure.
They don't.
This is true. Yeah, I don't know. I think they can get there. I think there's a bit like there's too much pressure inside the team and really wanting results now, and I don't think the management in place really has the patience to wait out and develop the car the way they should.
I think if you look at it, especially with the performance right now, I think that a big thing too is just the engine performance. Like Red Bull has found some extra power through some development this summer or whatever through the winter. With their Honda engine, because AlphaTauri is really impressive with the performance they've been able to take out of that engine. Of course, the Mercedes engine's probably the best one on the grid, like it's been for a couple of years. McLaren just switched to the Mercedes engine this
and they're
season.
So much faster than
and
they
you
were
can
with
see
Renault
the difference, right? There's a clear difference. Like that engine's definitely better than Renault's. So I think that's like a big thing. And then I don't know if I'm sold on Ferrari's engine yet, but definitely those two engines have shown that they're kind of above the competition. Honda's engine and then Mercedes engine.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised to see what the Red Bull engine development looks like further.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do.
How are they going to?
They've burned bridges too with all the other like engine manufacturers.
They're never going back to Renault. I don't think they would ever use a Ferrari engine just on merit. And then there's no way Mercedes
would sell it to them.
That engine. They're never going to. It's
crazy because and I think it's going to be a problem for the sport as a whole, right? Because they've been contenders for so long. If they win the constructors this year and they don't have engine next year, like that's a big problem for F1, like for F1 as a whole to figure out how do you solve this problem. I don't think they want to lose Red Bull.
And I think I don't know what they're going to do. That's a lot of why they've like changed the cost to get in, is to try and make like Volkswagen and Porsche, Audi, Lamborghini want to get back into F1, because those are Porsche and Lamborghini have both made F1 engines in the past.
Yeah.
So it like to get them back in, as even if it's just as getting other auto manufacturers in for just engine suppliers, I think could be huge.
Man, how bittersweet would that be if Honda wins the constructors this year and then they leave, huh? What a decision. But
well, I think it would spark a lot of like, well, are they really gonna leave? Like they just won the world championship, and I feel like if you win a world championship, like their whole reason for not wanting to be in F1 anymore is the like financials of it, and it's just too expensive, and it's not really like in line with how they want to move their
new
business.
Image. Yeah.
But like, if you win a world championship, are you really actually going to pull out? Like,
well, I think that's the big thing too, because Red Bull is trying to. I think that's probably Red Bull's best solution is going to be to buy that entire department from Honda. Try to buy their motorsport like department, buy the whole thing, their employees, and just start developing it under the Red Bull name. Because like
there's the engine freeze goes into the new regulation, so it stays frozen.
I thought it was just for this season.
No, we use the V6 turbo hybrid for a little while into the new regulations, so that Red Bull can stay in the sport, and so that like they're using that Honda engine for the next little while until they are able to develop their own engine.
Yeah.
Which I think they are going to be taking over. It sounds like the Honda Mugen plant, which is like Honda's little side tuning company.
Okay.
So they make, if you want an extra fast Honda Civic, you call up the guys at Mugen.
Well, or an NSX or something. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back to qualification, man, Bottas really struggled this weekend, eh?
Yeah, and it like one of my things with the Mercedes. So this is, I don't know, I find qualifying, I kind of watch and I see who finishes where, and it kind of leaves my head afterwards. But I feel like that Mercedes is set up for like one good lap by itself with no other cars near it. And then it gets into the race, and I don't think the car can handle being around other cars aerodynamically. I also just don't think Valtteri is Mercedes good. Like part of me thinks like Valtteri a lot of the time, like if he qualifies further back, he doesn't have a good race. He's not one of those drivers that seems like he can fight his way through. To me, like I don't think he's a Mercedes caliber driver.
Yeah, so he qualified. So he qualified 8th place, which is pretty crazy considering like Mercedes, like their whole car is designed to be in front and not have any air disturbance, and just get out the clean laps. So I definitely agree with you, and maybe he's been carried this whole time by a superior car. But do you want Russell to come in and compete with Lewis? I don't know if that's better.
Yes.
So I think that's the real question.
I would love to see Valtteri and George get traded.
Yeah. Okay, send Valtteri to Williams. I mean, he'd probably just retire from F1. I don't know if he would, but
Valtteri raced at Williams before Nico Rosberg left Mercedes, so it'd just send Valtteri back home and put George up where he always should have been. That's how I think it should go.
Kind of pull like what Ferrari did with Raikkonen as well. And,
exactly.
And then as long as these old timers like have fun, whatever, and they can teach and they can kind of be mentors for their new driver they're training for to move up to the main team. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm looking at the qualifications. So first place, Hamilton, of course. Second place, Sergio Perez in front of Max Verstappen.
Great quali for Sergio.
I was really happy to see that for him because he's been struggling with that car, and I guess we'll talk about it a bit later because he did during the race. He struggled, but man, during qualification, what a way to show up, especially beating Max Verstappen. Crazy.
Oh yeah,
Charles Leclerc, amazing. Fourth place, right?
Great quality for Charles.
For Ferrari. Well. Do you remember where his teammate ended up? Carlos Sainz.
Carlos, where he qualified?
It's a question. I have the answer. I'm just wondering if you know.
No, I do not remember.
He finished 11th, right? That's crazy to think because if he finished 11th, man, either Sainz is really having difficulty with the car or Leclerc is driving the shit out of that car, which I think is probably that one. But
I honestly think it's Charles just driving the living daylights off that car.
Especially after last year, it's very impressive to see that from Leclerc. And then I'm so happy to see this. Fifth place, Pierre Gasly, AlphaTauri. That's impressive, man. The last week or like last race, he had a great performance. This race, he had a great performance. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the podium again, and maybe even win one this season.
I think we'll need another big fluke race to get Pierre back on top of the podium, but I definitely see some seconds and thirds for him this season.
Yeah,
if he can get it all to come together for him.
Yeah, and then like the two Mercedes 6 and 7, which is a very respectable. They kind of been there for a little bit. Lance Stroll squeezing in Q3, 10th place. I'm happy. Lance Stroll for the last 2 race weekend, he's been going all the way to Q3, which is kind of all we can kind of expect from him.
Yeah.
And so far, especially with the car he has, it's not as performant as last year. I think he's been showing that he deserves his spot.
Definitely. I think like there was a lot of criticism of Lance early on in his career, and he shouldn't be here, and it's just his dad. Like the kid is good. He can drive a car. Man.
I definitely agree.
And if you look at his stats from some of his first seasons too, like he didn't get passed. He rarely finished lower than he started. Like he's a good driver. I just think he finally has like proper, he's in a good spot, I think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the shouting about Lance Stroll isn't a real F1 driver is going to quickly go away.
Yeah, and I think it's also
especially
just jealous.
I kind of feel like he's also becoming the number 1 driver over at Aston Martin very, very quickly.
I think, and I think that team's probably going to get built around him for the coming years too. So I'm excited. Like you said, you're kind of becoming an Aston Martin fan. I kind of agree. I want to get on the bandwagon.
I just can't wait to see their Silverstone livery.
Canadian and stuff. So I agree. What else can I talk about? And then we'll kind of wrap it up. But Lance Stroll's teammate Vettel got out qualified by George Russell, man. I think just that says a lot. In a Williams.
But let's remember that George Russell is Mr. Saturday in that Williams.
That is
he does special things on Saturdays in that car. There's something happens on Saturday morning. George gets to the track.
He's never been out qualified by his teammates in F1 so far. And Latifi did a pretty good thing. He went to Q2 and stuff. So I'm happy. And then Yuki Tsunoda DNF because he crashed. And then the Haas, it's going to be a rough season for those rookies.
It's going to be a very, very rough season for those rookies. I honestly think Mick will probably get through this first season pretty fine. I think there's going to be a lot of mental work Mazepin's going to have to do to get over this season.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the race. Man, right off, a wet race is always something exciting to look forward to.
Always.
At
always.
the start of in the morning, you wake up and you see that it rained. Oh, I love it.
There's one thing I want in F1, and that's perfectly calm, clear Saturdays, and just an absolute shitstorm on Sundays. Like, man, if we could have a monsoon condition every Sunday and like just perfect, brisk blue skies every Saturday, I'd be so happy.
Yeah, and like especially I think, which the beauty of it is, it makes for such interesting like strategy and race through the racing.
Yeah.
It makes it like way more interesting, because then it's all the drama of when you pit in to go to slick or once it stopped, and like
so
do you
initially
start
on wet, do you start on inter?
Yeah. Love the. If we think about the start, big spray and everything, and then Perez got passed by Max pretty quickly. Then Max and Hamilton started fighting, and all of that spray was like pretty crazy. And then pretty soon, like pretty soon the rain kind of stopped, and the track was drying, and that's when you saw people switch to slick, right?
Yeah. Can we just talk about that first lap for a sec? Sergio Perez, I feel like, could have gotten past Lewis Hamilton at least 4 or 5 times on that opening lap and backed out of it every time.
Yeah,
I think he's driving.
Possible.
I think he's driving really cautiously to not pull an Alex Albon and try and rush to get past somebody and crash out. But I don't think it's paying off for him.
You got to think also that the second driver at Red Bull is cursed. Like it's a fact at this point. So it's going to be hard for him to break it.
This is true. Well, going back to Mark Webber.
Yeah, exactly.
Driver's curse.
So what happened? Oh yeah, Latifi crashed pretty early on in the race, which is a shame.
Such a stupid crash too. That was a really dumb. I wanted to blame Mazepin so bad for that crash, but Latifi had no reason to be going all the way to the right side of the road.
Yeah. And then, so something interesting was that Max at the lead, right? And people were starting to pit to switch to slick, which is when like he did, and then Hamilton did as well. But tried the undercut, it didn't work, right? Hamilton had a shitty kind of pitting. The guys messed up his right wheel or whatever, and that's when it gets really interesting, right? So I don't know, I went to do something, came back like right at that moment. I was like, okay, sweet strategy. They're switching tires and stuff, and then a couple of crashes happened. So let's talk through the events. Man, Hamilton like messes up, right? He made a mistake and just slides into the grass, into the gravel. I was screaming. I was screaming. I was like, so hyped.
He's out. We got a totally different top 3 than last season. Let's go. This is
I was like, oh man, it's gonna be Max, like Lando, and then P3 is gonna be a fight. Like that's gonna be crazy. And then I can't believe this guy, man. Like literally, it's rigged. I know we talked.
He's like the only F1 driver who can find reverse in those cars. Nobody else can engage reverse, but Lewis Hamilton can get reverse.
So he reverses out, starts driving with his damaged wing. I'm like, okay, he's gonna fall to like P8, P10, right? They're gonna have to replace the wing and everything. 1 lap later, massive crash between Bottas and Russell. Let's talk about that. What do you think happened?
There were team orders to Valtteri that said, hey, Lewis needs a red flag.
I'm saying Russell heard a little voice in his headset saying, you want to race for Mercedes soon? Let's go.
Did you see the statement George put out?
No.
So obviously, like, there was a big altercation. You know, Valtteri flipped George the bird. George smacked Valtteri over the head.
Yeah.
There were some words exchanged to the press afterwards. Russell today puts out a big, it was my fault. I'm so sorry to Valtteri. I shouldn't have overreacted that way. Man, I think Toto got on the phone with him and went, George, if you ever want to drive a Silver Arrow in your life, you must apologize now. Because if you ever want to drive Lewis's car again.
I don't know. I don't want to put it all on Russell too, the blame. Like, He definitely like had the space
I think
to
that
pass.
was Valtteri's fault. I genuinely think that was Valtteri's fault. I think Valtteri tried to squeeze him out to make George back out, and because George has a big pair of balls, he went for it, and
it was wet grass.
Yeah.
Yep. And like, I don't know, crazy crash, right? They were like on a straight, so much debris. It surprised me how no cars like got debris in their fans or something. A couple of cars went through that debris field. Yeah.
Well, did you see Alonso spun through the debris field? Like, there's Alonso going through and then hits this patch and he's spinning, and there are marshals out there trying to clean everything up.
Yeah, that's so. When that accident happened, I was like, oh, okay, at least one Mercedes down. That's good. But then I realized that like that just saved like Hamilton's ass, right? And I was just so so pissed. But they red flagged the thing.
Why didn't we get a standing start?
Before they red flagged it, they had like the safety car, and Hamilton had the perfect timing to just squeeze in, switch his stuff before the red flag. It was like, oh my god, this guy. Yeah, it was pretty frustrating. Like, he's so good, you know, like.
I know. He gets all the luck.
Yeah, so red flag stuff happened. Yeah, like you said, no standing start. It was kind of a really hoping start.
For a standing start.
Man, can we talk about that rolling start? I don't know if you saw it in the replay, but or if you watched it live, but I was watching live.
Oh, Max drifting around the last corner?
Max spun. And I was like, no.
The fact Max spun, and then Charles backed off. If Charles keeps going, Max just gets collected into wherever he can rejoin the track. That's where he has to start. That's the rule.
Whew. So yeah, because I definitely noticed that Norris and Charles both slowed down, and Max was able to go back in, and I was like, oh my, that could have been really bad.
Yeah, no, I think there was some real like gentlemanly racing going on there with Charles being like, no, Max, you lead the way.
Man, good on them, because one lap later, the other Red Bull spins. Do you remember that? So Perez was like P4 at that point, had a great position, could have been a 1-2 Red Bull.
Oh yeah, spins off at Villeneuve.
Yeah, he spuns and he goes back to like 14 or something. Man,
and then just never really crawled. Like, I mean, he still got up to, where did he finish?
I'll tell you. He finished 11th. He might have had a damaged car. I don't remember.
No, he didn't pick up any damage in his spin. He didn't hit anything.
He finished 11th. Oh, and he had a time penalty as well. He had like a 10-second time penalty.
Because he spun under safety car and then just passed everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I forgot about
doesn't
that.
Help. Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the crash. Man, what a guy, right? After the red flag, Hamilton started P8 and finished P2 on the podium, which is hats off to him. Definitely, he has to put the work in.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't know. It was a great fight. That train, the two Ferraris, Norris, and then Red Bull in front. But that whole fight with then Hamilton coming in was really fun to watch.
It was. It was some really exciting racing.
How long did they last it, in your opinion? Like 10 laps, 15 laps? Until Hamilton went back to P2?
Hamilton got P2 with only like 4 or 5 laps.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was a pretty good battle from the
because like
halfway point of the race at the red flag to pretty much the end. It was
because Hamilton passed like oh my god, sorry, Ricardo, and then it was crazy to watch, like you said earlier with the DRS, because that's exactly what it was. Norris was in front, and then Leclerc could get the DRS of Norris, and then Sainz was getting the DRS of Leclerc, and then Hamilton was in the back, you know, and then
getting Sainz DRS
closer, and
That's the one thing I love about DRS is when everybody gets into a train and you're all like just within a second of each other by the time you're at the braking zone, everybody is together.
Everybody's back together. Yeah, I know. It's a pretty good system. I don't know. I think it kind of played. It kind of got Norris, but like we said a bit earlier, he definitely defended really well for a couple of laps, which I was very surprised by. If we talk about
just, could take some notes from Lando on how to defend.
Yeah. If we just talk about like just tire choice after that red flag, teams switched their tires and stuff.
Why was Gasly left out on wets for so long?
Yeah,
Pierre Gasly was left out on wets for like 10 laps longer than he should have been.
Yeah, and so Max was on intermediates, and then right behind him, Lando Norris was on soft for the whole second half of that race, and he really did it was a great move by McLaren to do that, because he started at the restart behind the Ferraris and was able to pass them in the first couple of laps thanks to his soft. And then he just did a masterclass of managing those tires all the way to the end of the race, which was really impressive and great racing by him.
Oh yeah, like Lando, I don't know, that's great strategy down to the team. And then also I'm not sure if it was in the second half of the race or not, but there was over the team radio, Lando, said, I think I'm 4 seconds a lap faster than Daniel, and he was behind Daniel, and they let him through, and usually in F1 it's like, oh, I'm so much faster, and they get by, and it's like, okay, you guys aren't really you're not really that much faster. Man, Lando scampered down the road. That was one of the few times where a driver comes on the radio, goes, I'm faster, let me by. They get let by, and Jesus, was he faster.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where you see McLaren having a great team spirit right now. They definitely have the right culture going on right now, because I think if it had been the reverse situation, they would have done this exact same thing. Kind of let him pass, test if it's working out, maybe for a lap or two. Is he really? If that's not the case and they're still racing, maybe give the spot back and go back. I think there's a lot of respect in that team, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, that team is set up in very much a we're a family way.
Yeah.
You can tell even when Carlos was there, they did not pick favorites. Since Alonso left that team, I think they've really done a lot of reflecting and have grown a lot as a team since their second Alonso stint and their last Honda stint.
Yeah, and I mean the team principal also is just killing it, right? Zach Brown, he's definitely he definitely is doing a great job right now with everything that's going on, and just the sponsors he's getting, and definitely the team's having a lot of money right now. They can do research, looking really good for McLaren. I'm happy to see it.
Mm-hmm. And I really think Zach Brown properly runs that team.
Yeah.
There are other teams, I think Mercedes is run 50-50 with Toto and Lewis. McLaren is Zach Brown's show. And you're a guest on his show.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the final results. Man, still we talked a bit earlier, but very impressive. P4, P5 for Ferrari. Who would have thought they could do that comeback? I was definitely surprised.
I'm so happy for the Tifosi that they have something to cheer about again.
Especially in Ferrari, especially in Italy. Good on them. Good on them.
I think it would have been more special to see the two of them up on the podium, but definitely a Ferrari getting up there is a big deal.
Yeah. And then
there wasn't a Ferrari up there.
Gasly finished 7th, so he lost a couple spots from his quali, but still pretty impressive. Lance Stroll, you just talked about it, right? That he usually doesn't lose spots, and that's exactly what happened. He qualified 10th, he finished 8th. Man, I think he's we talked about Charles Leclerc, but I think Lance Stroll is probably out racing his car. If you just look at his teammate too, definitely a lot more comfortable in the Aston.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's just a good, steady driver that because people kind of write him off as his dad got him in the sport. There's not that much pressure on him, so he can, like, if he has a bad result, people expect him to, and if he has a good result, people congratulate him for it. There's no pressure on this kid to perform at all, and he's doing amazing.
Yeah. I guess before we wrap up, except if you have a couple more topics, but something really funny that happened during the race yesterday. I don't know if you saw it go through the social media, but Sebastian Vettel finished ahead of the two Haas, even though he did not finish.
Yes. I love it. Yeah, I saw that too.
So absurd. That's so crazy. So for whoever who doesn't know how that can be, whenever the race winner crosses the line, that's the last lap of the cars. And since Vettel had retired the lap beforehand, like lap 63 or whatever, because he had a gear problem, the two Haas cars had like 2 laps behind. So when the race winner crossed the finish line and the Haas car then crossed, they were still a lap behind Vettel, which placed them below the rankings, even though Vettel DNF, which is incredible. What a great way to represent what's going on at Haas.
Man, I wish I had a live stream of Gene Haas's office when he saw that.
Wonkers. Oh no, that's not Gene Haas, but man, yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Do you have anything else you want to add, Wills? Otherwise, I think we can wrap this up.
No, I don't have anything else. We covered all my points.
Yeah, me too. I think I want to talk about one last thing. Well, I guess maybe we can keep that for next week. But yeah, man. Okay, we'll keep it for next week. But F1 fantasy is actually super entertaining. I was really looking. I'm glad you added me to that league, because I was really looking into it throughout the whole weekend, and I just had a great weekend. So I came back. One of my teams, I had Turbo Driver on Lando Norris, and I just made so much points.
That'd be a good Turbo Driver this weekend.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I tried to go in and edit my fantasy team on Friday, and it wouldn't let me. I tried to be all sneaky and get in after the FP1 and FP2 results were in, and it wouldn't let me edit. And I was like, why? Well, I guess I did it too late.
Yeah, I think everything gets locked out for the weekend. But yeah, right now I'm second place in the league, which really hypes me up with my #1 team. So there you go. That's just a little brag here. I guess next week we can talk about what our teams are composed of and why we made those. That's like a good topic, actually. I'm going to write that down. But
yeah, especially with no race next weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Portugal isn't next weekend. It's the week after.
Okay. Well, sounds good. All right. Thanks, Wills. Thank you, everybody who listened.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah. Thank you to all the viewers.
So, do you want to let us know when the next race is, Wills?
Yes. The next race is on where the frick is my calendar? Organization.
I have it. Okay.
It's the week of the 29th.
Yeah.
Portugal, so we go to Portimao.
30th of April to 2nd of May. Portugal. Hopefully it's a good race. So far, we've been very fortunate. I think the first 2 races of the seasons are really entertaining.
They're really good. The Algarve was a good circuit last year, if I remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it as well. So
and then after Portugal, we get the Holy Grail of Monaco.
Yo, are they having it this year?
Yeah, Monaco's a go this year.
That's exciting, especially if, man, I was really looking forward to going in person to the F1 one. So in Montreal, maybe next year.
Next year.
At least we have a contract for like the next 8 years. So that's good. I'm gonna go, but
we'll have media passes next year, Simon. Don't worry.
Oh, that's what I want to hear. All right. Good.
All right.
All right. See you, everybody. Thank you.